Hey, Park Laners, or any guests who are viewing this podcast, welcome. I'm Tom, and this is the podcast version of our News at Noon 1 minute training. And we usually share, we have lots of different people who share, but when I'm responsible, I usually share 1.5, 2 minutes. An idea on training, just a quick thought. And there are some things that require a little more time than just a little quick thought. And the one we're doing the series on is sharing. You can call that recruiting or sponsoring. There's a number of words for it, but it really is sharing. And in many ways, it really does pay. It's kind of long term sometimes, not always, but it really, really does pay. And it pays in many ways. And so we're doing a 3-week series, and this is the optional podcast. So this is where I get to take a little bit more than 1.5 minutes. And so I'll just qualify it by telling you what I tell you is only to tell you that I've been there and I've done this. And so I started, my wife and I, this is us in 1986. And then in 1989, with the company we started, this was, that's a frame box of when we had the #1 team in that company in 1988 at Jubilee. That was the big convention, what it was called there. And then these trophies, this is #1 in the US, #1 in the world, which I've kept with some other fun ones, but that's about it for me. And then my corporate headshots, National Sales and Marketing Director for PM International. They're the 6th largest direct sales company in the world. This was a skincare company I was president of, and here's my current headshot with Park Lane. And so in all that time, this is only work related. I've always been a recruiter, somebody who wants to share. And outside of my professional life, that's still always what I seem to end up doing, whether it's my 45th class reunion or my church and the men's ministry and our DC kids, the 1 to 5-year-old babies. I'm the greatest advocate and I'm the greatest recruiter, and it's because of attitude. Most people would say that who have known me at some point in my career or personally will say, he's got a great attitude. And the A in the ABCs, 3 weeks, the A in really sponsoring and sharing is that you have to have the attitude of sharing, because attitude is really contagious. And I want to share with you that in our business, in direct sales, there are 4 things you do that really generate income, that make you money. And in the end, we should be doing things that make us money, right? So the first is booking, and that's a skill. You learn how to book. It's different now. It's virtual. It can be done to text, and we do lots of different ways, but it can be taught. It's like riding a bike. What you know how to do, you never forget. And, you know, what is your system for booking? Do you have a system, and do you know a way that you just really easily can work and get bookings? Second thing is show planning, hostess coaching, a couple different words for it. That's a discipline. You have to force yourself to do it, but once you do and you make it a habit, and you give them the guidelines or the words to say and what to do step by step, you really, it's great shows don't just happen. They're planned to happen. This is the discipline. So that's the second thing. Third thing, which we're going to talk about today, is recruiting, and it's a feeling. When you're excited and you have the right attitude, there's that word, you recruit. And we know this because there are brand new stylists who will just start in the business, just getting started. And they'll bring in like a recruiter to it. You go, how did they do that? They don't know what they're doing. It's not a skill. It's a feeling. And how much do we focus on that positive feeling in our opportunity? We're going to talk about that. That's a big part of the attitude. Lastly, promoting. When we work to promote and have others advance, that's a passion. That's when you're all in. And that's the very best we have to give. The management opportunity, our direct hire program, that's the best thing that Park Lane has. I mean, it really is. That's where the best of the best in terms of rewards, financial, everything happens. And for that to happen, one of the things you've really got to learn to be a part of and love to do is sharing, recruiting. Now, we showed this little screen on our 1-minute training, but what are you afraid of in terms of recruiting? You have to change your thinking or attitude to get over recruiting fears. 95% of us in this business, and listen, I know how you feel because I was there once. And I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the feeling of being afraid to do something. And I had to learn how to get past that, okay? And even though I had the right attitude, I've always had this enthusiasm. So what are you afraid of? These are the most common ones. And I just want to talk to them before I tell you my 2 my two really big things, my two tips that I learned very early that have carried me on through my entire career. Okay, so we got that coming next. I'm afraid that people will think I'm too pushy. That's never, listen, if you think of you have the best thing to offer them is the opportunity and you're just doing that, if they think you're pushy, say, hey, listen, I'm so sorry if in any way I offended you, but this is such a great opportunity and I think you'd be so amazing at it that I'd feel guilty if I didn't share with you. When you say that at the one time out of 10 that somebody maybe, that just completely disarms them. It's easy. I hate hearing no. I understand. With one tip I give you, the first no will get to a second yes. So don't be afraid of that. It's not no, it's KNOW. They don't know all the benefits of our business. They don't. I'm afraid people won't like me. Listen, there'll always be there are people who don't like me. This enthusiasm doesn't play well with everyone. Kids love me, okay? But there'll always be some that won't. Some will, some won't, someone who's next. But it's okay. You're just, listen, you're just offering this best thing. And it's worth it to have 1 out of 20 people not like me as to miss the person who could really benefit from what we have. I'm afraid I don't know enough about the business. You know more than them. Remember, you're a stylist. You always know more than them. So don't let that stop you. I'm afraid my new people won't succeed. That's tip number 2. So the 2 big tips, it refers to that one. I'm afraid I'll saturate our market. Oh, goodness. Let's take, let's take the 2 biggest, coolest cities in our international markets. Toronto, Canada, and Sydney, Australia. Okay? 2 rockin' markets. I love the people in them. They're very similar in size. We have 1 Park Lane stylist for every, I think it's 240,000 people that I looked at last time. Listen, the high tide raises all boats. When you have more people, we're seeing that in Ontario, Canada. When you have more people who are talking about it, it's rising up for everybody. So that's exciting. I'm afraid I can't convince people to join my team. That's never our job to convince them. We're going to talk in the C. We're going to talk about how you can help them make the decision, but we're not convincing anybody. We don't have to. And so recruiting, the bottom here, it really isn't about us. It's about them. We don't have to convince anyone to sign up. We just need to talk to enough people to find a good fit. And that takes us to our 2 big tips. Number 1, I learned this very early, and it was make your best offer first. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let me give you an example. We're going to go big here. So, hey, here I am. Okay, and I'm part of a company that has just given me this money to give away to people that I meet and are interested in Park Lane, okay? And I can give out whatever one I want. It's completely up to me, okay? I could give you a 20. I know it's our boring U.S. money, but it's worth more than almost anything else in the world. I could give you a 50. I know it's all still green. It's not nearly as pretty as the money you have because I've been in all your places. I could give you 100. And I could give you either one of these. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't cost me anything. What would I offer? Now, if I'm thinking of you and I'm thinking of what's best for you, I'm giving everybody a Benjamin. Ben Franklin's on our 100. Okay? I'm giving you that. That's the best thing I have to offer. If that's too good to be true and you think, no way, you won't, I'll take the 50. Okay, I'll give it to you. But I want you to take the 100. It's the best thing we have to offer. And if you say, no way, nobody gives out 100s or 50s, give me the 20, I'll give that to you too. It's here either way. Okay? What does this little illustration, how does it have anything to do with my Park Lane business? In our Park Lane business, there are really 3 things. 4th, referring is something that I've learned is an integral part of really ways you can get people involved in Park Lane. But the first, the best opportunity is selling. I mean, they come in and sell, and they not only get to enjoy our product, they can make incredible amounts of money. They can earn trips. They can, there's so many different benefits. If they're not interested in that and they say no, then I offer them hosting. That's the 50. That's still a good gift. You know, they just have a couple people together virtually, Zoom, Mega, whatever, and they're going to benefit with all the great free product. Fabulous. Why would I not offer the 50 next? Third is buying. They can buy. We've got a great sale. You've got 2 bonus items. You just place an order. I'll make out a card order for you and send it to you in email. Yahoo! We make money. We make money on all those. Again, you may make most of it if they buy at the short term. The principle, one of the things that'll change your attitudes about recruiting is understanding that, remember we talked about promotions, and that's, you know, if you really want to promote and grow a business, you have to be good at recruiting, at sharing. And that's where you understand that, you know, if you just call and get someone to buy, that's great. And short term, you get a purchase and maybe we'll keep them as a customer. But if you get someone to sell the first one, you don't make as much money right away. But long term, you make a lot more. It's just like the rule of compounding interest. If you've ever or never studied money, the principle of just how you put a little bit of money in over a long period of time, consistent behavior, and you have fabulous rewards at the end. And that's what sharing is. It's not as much right now. Not always. We have some people who've had amazing launch parties, and it's incredible. But over the long term, it benefits you financially too. Remember, you're offering them the best we have. Remember the example. Okay? Don't lose sight of that. 100 to 50 of the 20. But that's okay. Not everybody wants to do that. It really is okay. And so we have other options. That's the first thing I learned, is that I had to offer the best thing we had to offer, the opportunity to join a side gig or whatever. I had to offer that first. And once I did that, I not only became a much better recruiter, but I really got great at everything else because it was really easy to default them to booking and hosting a show. So that's the first thing, is flip it. Offer the best thing we have. If you want to grow a team and you want to share, offer the best thing we have to offer, the opportunity first. You will always get what you recognize, reward, and talk most about. I learned that at my shows. I was not uncomfortable having a big recruiting bit at the beginning, and then we played a game at the end where they got bucks and everything. So, but it was okay because, hey, listen, I knew that's what I needed to focus on for my long-term goals and for their benefit. You know, it helped me, but that sounds, I just know I've seen so many people over 36 years who have so benefited from what we have to offer. Here at Park Lane, absolutely. In the last 11 years, just some great success stories. One of the best examples is Lee Bodner up in Canada, who we reached out over Christmas just because had been a president of another company she was at, and she reached out to me just thinking she'd sell jewelry. I offered her to be the franchise owner. Come on, that's the best thing we had going internationally at the time. And guess what that little team does a month now? Incredible, just by offering the best thing we have. And with me, I saw that in her a long time ago. I knew that, and right when I started the conversation, I knew that's what she'd be best at, and that's how she'd benefit the greatest. So that's number one. We got to flip it. We got to make the best offer first. Here's number two. Can I make SpongeBob move there? Yeah, there he is. I still cannot tell who will be good and who will not. I just can't. And I say still because I thought way back then at the beginning I could. And I was taught, I had the right attitude adjustment, and I was taught, this is an attitude, that you can't pick who will be good and who won't. You can have an idea. You can have, you kind of know. People like us, we most like to recruit. Remember that. You like to recruit people like you, okay? But I still can't tell. I've shown so many people who I thought would be fabulous and who didn't. And then I've seen just amazing stories of people I never believed in a million years would be great, who are just superstars at doing this. And because I can't pick, I can't tell, I have to offer it to everyone. I have to make that habit of offering the best thing we have how I act to everyone when I talk to them in regards to the business. And so, as we look at over the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about these kind of 5 steps of having a winning recruiting conversation. The first 2, create a connection. Obviously, you've done that when you think of, if you don't have a hot list, we had great training by Carolyn at Spark, our last Sparkle sessions, and she talked about her hot list and about how, okay, when I'm focused on recruiting, I pick up my hot list. Listen, here was the great training about that. You can tell she's a recruiter because she had a hot list. If you don't have a hot list, if you don't have a list of people that you'd really like to, maybe you've been afraid, you haven't had time. There's lots of reasons we put it off. I know exactly. But if you don't have one, you should, because that hot list is people who you've really created a connection with, and you've met them through a show, through wherever. And number 2, you ask. These are the 2 attitude homework assignments. And number 2, you ask them questions to determine their needs. So it's not, recruiting isn't always about, I meet them, I ask a couple questions, I find it, I match the benefit, and then it's not like that always. There are recruiting efforts that take months and relationships. It's that connection and asking questions so you know their needs. You know what they really need. Then, when you get to the point where you're really ready to say, I think you would be so good at doing what I do, there are 4 common questions. Now, we're going to talk about that next week. That relates to the B, the number 3 and 4. And lastly, if you haven't guessed already, the C is for close. And I'm going to talk to you about how I learned how to close one-on-one first. I learned that from my wife a long time ago. And then I learned to be big. I had to learn how to close in groups. And I've been in front of some big groups, many of them with your franchise owners, but I've been in front of some big groups, and I've learned how to close both individually and in a group environment. And now virtually everything is a group environment, kind of. So it'll be good skills to learn in the ABCs of recruiting. Hey, thanks for viewing this. We've sent it out via these 4 platforms, and this is something that, hey, we share the best we have to offer. If someone would benefit from hearing about this in recruiting, even if they aren't in Park Lane, hey, we want to share because we know at Park Lane, it's the incredible product, the incredible programs, and the incredible people, the family who make up Park Lane. And nobody else has that. That's our secret sauce. Hey, thanks for watching this week's podcast, the A in the ABCs of sharing.